Okay, great. All right, so we'll get started. My name is Melissa Morley-Weaver. I'm the Alumni Relations Digital and Comm Lead at the Global Office, and I work with local alumni, but also alumni from all over the globe. So today is International Women's Day, and CEMS would like to honor that, and especially our women that have been through the program, but also who are currently in the program. This year's theme is Break the Bias. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But today's theme is Daughters in Family Business. And family business is actually a very big theme in our curriculum at CEMS. In Cairo, they also address this in the curriculum, RSM, HEC, just to name a few. So we thought we would go that route and see how our CEMSies are interested in working for a family business, perhaps eventually, and even maybe a daughter in family business. So that being said, we're just going to go over a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. So just so you know that you're muted upon arrival, it's a webinar setting. If you want to ask a question, make sure to use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. You can also upvote questions too. If you'd like to ask a question live, we're also happy to hear from you because, we've been stuck in this virtual world. It'd be nice to hear a voice instead of read it out loud. So, but if you're multitasking, totally understandable, or use the chat too. And lovely Emily from the student board will help you out as well. So, let's talk about our lovely moderator today, Anna Akhmedova. She's a CEMS alum from 2013 from GSOM and USYD. And she's currently a university lecturer at the Universitat, what am I pronouncing this very awfully, but Internacional, the Catalunya. And she's currently a university lecturer there, where she teaches within the Department of Economy and Business Organization. And she's written many articles about this topic. So she will be our moderator today, an expert. Okay. We also have Akanksha Batura, who's our speaker, one of our speakers today. And she's also an alum from 2014 from NUS, and she went to LSE and Bocconi, but she's also our mid-career alumni of the year for 2021. And she does plenty of things. She keeps herself very, very busy in Singapore. She's the head of strategy and growth at Sinoda Shipping Agency, International Maritime Organization's Goodwill Maritime Ambassador. Oof, that's a mouthful. And she represents Singapore. She is also our local chapter alumni president for Singapore as well. So thank you for joining us today. And then we have our last panelist. Let me just get over to my arrow there. As Carlota Diaz-Reixa Saavedra, and she's an alum from 2017, ESADE and Corvinus, and she handles management of Bodega Los Lirios, and she also handles event planning and currently is pursuing a master's in enology because you don't have enough on your plate already, Carlota. And she is also behind the madness as well of annual events at CEMS. So that's great to have you on board. So I'll stop sharing my screen for a second so you can see all these lovely ladies together. And the floor is yours, Anna. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. Thank you very much. So, well, I have the role of the moderator here. I'm going to ask some questions, some very difficult questions. So the first one goes to both of our panelists today, Carlota and Akanksha. So, what is your story? Tell us the story. How did you came into the family business? How did you choose to go there? Did you have any doubts before? So tell us a little bit about that. So I don't know, Akanksha, maybe you first.
Hi. Yeah, I wouldn't have survived this sabotage because my name starts with an A, so I always have to go first. But okay, how I started. So I don't think I ever thought I would go into working with my father, essentially, who's the one who started the business. This is a shipping and logistics business, and it's an SME, and he started it in 1991, and then along the way he opened up a few more SMEs as well. And so he was managing this while we were growing up and I was studying, and I didn't actually ever think that I would go into that. So, I mean, which is why I never really studied anything very specific to shipping and logistics, which, you know, if I knew, I would have maybe, you know, picked more courses on that front. But I actually always thought I would go into FMCG or finance or marketing, something of that sort. A lot of my CEMS projects and my honors consulting practicum at NUS also was very much related to like marketing and all of that stuff. But then when I graduated, I felt that I saw value in what my dad had created. And I felt that it was time that he also needed like some small things tweaked. Like, I'll tell you very honestly, they didn't have like they did have a website long back, but they didn't have like Facebook presence, which is not really required for B2B companies, but it wasn't there. There wasn't really that much of branding. There wasn't really a lot of outreach to like the local government agencies. So I could see that, you know, I could add value on some fronts, even though I wasn't so strong operationally, perhaps like technical knowledge. So yeah, I decided to give it a go. And then the first 2 years, I feel like I genuinely think I was a glorified secretary. Like, I just was floundering around. But you know, you always have that imposter syndrome and it never goes away. But in those 2 years, like after I finished, like I remember like looking around and realizing everyone who had joined anything from a graduate program to like a smaller company, everybody felt lost even after 2 years. So then I felt better that, you know, okay, it's kind of normal. And then slowly I started learning. I'm still learning, you know, I still don't know everything about the industry and the business, but yeah, so that's how I joined. Like, I felt like there was something of value that I could add and that the platform was good. And yeah, I felt that this was going to be challenging. I didn't have a role. There are no KPIs. There's no job scope. You just do whatever that comes on your plate. So essentially, you know, my role is head of strategy and growth, but I basically do anything non-operational that comes on my plate. So that's my job. Yeah. So that's how I got into it.
So Akanksha, and do you have any brothers and sisters in the business? You said your father is the one who started, and then
so I have a younger brother, but he and he's 2 years younger to me. And so when he graduated, he essentially started his own company. And because my father he was a ship captain, he was a professional, so he never really started a business thinking that he was going to be a businessman. And he didn't want to change the ideas of his kids if they had a passion. So for him, the business he started was not really like to earn so much money. It was mostly to like have a stable rice bowl, have colleagues and staff that he cares about, and work in a field that he feels passionate about. And so he never really like pushed any of us to join him ever. And so my brother actually started his own company in educational technology. His company, like it's still considered a startup because it's less than 5 years and all of that. But so my dad never pressures him, even though once in a while he'll be like, yeah, I think I need your help. But you know what? If you can see value in what you're doing, you do that. Because again, my dad always, like in our family, we always think we don't know what's in the future, right? Like our industry might get disrupted, and what my brother's doing may be the way to the future. So why like disrupt his passion and his where he wants to make his legacy and bring him down to something that, you know, you're not sure, and you are only doing it because you're passionate. So it's very different for us, but yes, that's how it is. So he's not really in the business, but he does help out because he's a very techie guy. So anytime I have a tech issue, he helps me out. So yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Akanksha. So Carlota, would you like to introduce yourself and your business, family business?
Yes. So I had very similar experience. So in my case, I never thought I was going to end up in the family business. It wasn't a plan. So I had all this international experience. I was working for CEMS, and I was working at events management. That was my main role. And then basically I decided to try and do events in the space that we have here, because basically it's a winery and it has a very nice place in nature. And I just started with events. It wasn't a plan to stay fully invested in the business. It was just, okay, I'm doing events and I'm doing them like more of something like more punctual and not something I would do as a job. And then it just escalated very quickly, and now I'm fully invested in the business. I guess it's also because I fell in love with what I'm doing, not so much because it's my family's business. I would say it's not that much related. I just like what I do, and that's why I stayed. But the family part, for me, doesn't add that much value. Of course, it adds value because I can do more. I'm more flexible in terms of what I can do, but it's not the main reason I'm here. I would say the wrong way around, but.
Well, just a little bit to know about the family in the business. So the family who is in the business, in your business, do have your mom, no? And
yeah, so my family business is a bit different also to Akanksha's, because basically it's my mom and all her siblings. So it's more like 10 people in the family business just as owners. And then, so this is the second generation. So my family, my aunts and my uncles are second generation, and I would be the third generation. So there's a lot more people in the business and a lot more people making decisions, which makes it a bit more complicated, I would say. Basically because for now, I'm the only person in the third generation. So all my cousins are still too young to start working, so they are not interested in the family business. But let's see what happens in the coming years. But for now, I'm the only one in the third generation.
okay, great. So I think we have a poll. We have a small poll talking about generations and how far can a family business get. So you see that there are some very big international companies, and the question is whether any of these companies started as a family business, or is it a family business, any of these companies? What do you think? This is a question to the public. So I don't know if we have some results. Yeah. So you see that the most voted option was all of the above. Then we have some people who said that only Aldi, and some people who said that it's only BMW, who is that is the family business. So, well, basically the answer is that all of the above are the family businesses, and they started as a family businesses. Still, these companies are family business. So you see that some of the very, very big companies are family business, and like this is for this reason, it is a very important type of businesses, and it's different to other businesses because of the family issues, and we are going to talk about with Carlota and Akanksha now about the family topics in the business. So what are the pros and cons, do you think, of working with your family, Carlota? What do you think about that?
In terms, the best pro, in my opinion, or the best advantage is that for me, at least, this doesn't happen in all family businesses, but for me, is flexibility. So my mother in this case, who is my boss, I would call her, she's very open to giving me space in doing new things, trying new stuff. So she's very, very open in this sense. And she has also given me a lot of responsibility in comparison to what I would have, or what I believe I would have if I were in another business of someone else. So in my case, I think it's because I'm family that I get to do a lot of things and try new things, and also have a say in what's been done because I'm part of the family. That would be the biggest advantage, in my opinion. The biggest drawback is that because you're family, you have way more responsibility at the same time. So they ask you for way more than what they would to any other worker, or at least in my case. So my mom is like super super strict with what she wants and how she wants it, and the amount of time that you have to invest in the company is very difficult to determine, because family and business go very much together. So sometimes you don't know where the line is. So you're a bit like, okay, this is family or this is business, I'm not sure. So sometimes, yeah, it makes it a bit difficult to have your own space and time, and yeah. So that would be the two for me.
And Akanksha, what would be those pros and cons for you?
It's exactly the same as Carlota, really. It really is. Like, you get a lot of opportunity and a lot of freedom and flexibility to try out different things. I'm sure Carlota will agree that, like, even if tomorrow she comes out and says that I want to start a completely different like product, like, and I see a value in it, she'll be allowed to do it, you know, like. So it's similar to that. But the thing is that, of course, you feel a lot more pressure and there's a lot more responsibility on you, because, you know, you feel worried for all the years of reputation that have been maintained and everything that has been done to get you to that point. And, you know, you feel that pressure, which you wouldn't usually if you know, if you were 5 years into a normal work, a job or something. And just to share like how intertwined work and family is for me as well, is until I got married, I didn't even really realize that, you know, what are dinner time topics, because we would always discuss like work, you know, and it wasn't like a big thing. But like when I started talking to my in-laws, I'm like, oh, this is what normal conversation with family is like, you know. I mean, it's a little far-fetched, you know, we play games and stuff, but a lot of times our discussions would be very much about, hey, so what happened with that person, or what happened with this? And it's fun because we know everyone, we know who's who. And the way at least my father runs his businesses, it's very family oriented. Like even clients and all are almost known to us since we were much younger. So, you know, the feel is very different. It's very different from working outside in a, you know, in a different kind of professional thing. And yeah, the flexibility is also there. Like I gave birth about 9 months ago, and I still have that flexibility to work from home. Of course, it's still COVID times and all of this thing is still, you know, up in the air, but it's nice when you have family of your own, because then you can devote like that kind of time to both sides as well. And I feel it more now that, you know, I am a mom as well. So yeah, exactly, I echo what Carlota says.
So talking about COVID, how did COVID impacted your relations and, well, the family business as a whole? Akanksha.
Yeah,
you were.
So how it worked here, I mean, I don't know if you remember how like drastic lockdowns were, but you know, you were being encouraged not to visit your family, just stay at home. At least in Singapore, that was very much the ethos. And so like it felt a bit weird because I wasn't even able to like meet the boss that I speak with almost on an everyday basis to get things done. And so, to be honest with you, in a smaller SME, and this isn't just family businesses, getting people to understand and accept technology was also hard. You know, like doing, how do you do Zoom meetings? Okay, fine. If you don't want to do that, let's just do like a WhatsApp group call, you know? So like things like that. People were pretty much self-reliant and working by themselves, but it does get hard in a smaller business to get these things like formalized, frankly speaking. It sounds silly, but yes, it's true. COVID wise, yeah, we were pretty affected, but we really did. That's what I mean by family businesses. We really did try not to lay off anyone, and we did not. And we ensured that we tried to maintain salary packages and things like that and not cut costs. So we took one, like the company took one for everyone, instead of putting the staff through it. So that I think is a big plus of working with a family business that believes in that whole family ethos in the workplace as well. So I'm sure that's not the case in the other environments. I mean, I know from friends, and I know I've read enough to know what's been happening. So that was a big plus point as well. Even though we were suffering, we were helping, you know, we were trying to use up the reserve of the company to help out. So that's how we handled it.
That's very encouraging, Akanksha. And Carlota, do you have some reflections about the COVID time? Now it's almost gone.
In our case, it was a bit different to her because my family, mainly their different businesses are focused on tourism. So we are in the Canary Islands, and basically the Canary Islands survives out of tourism, almost 99.9%. So it's true that it was very, very dark times, especially because we like my family has hotels in the south of the island, which is basically where all tourists come to have their vacations. So for at least a year and a half, until things started to gradually pick up, which is what's happening right now. And we all know that now things are changing quite a lot. But it's true that at the beginning, it was very, very dark times. What my family did in terms of COVID was, and this is basically very similar to her, we tried as much as possible to adapt. So it's true that because it's a family business, you have easier or faster decision making. You don't have to go through so much bureaucracy or so much structure. So it's easier to change your business or try to adapt. And in our case, we changed drastically the business. So we went from hotels to opening a restaurant. And this restaurant was for local people, to try as much as possible to diversify and at least to be able to continue the business for the time until the hotels were back running. Back running because of tourism. So I think that's something that we were lucky with family businesses, which is the fact that we can adapt if the family is ready to adapt, because not all families are open to change. But if the family is open to adapt, you can adapt very quickly and very easily in comparison to multinationals or bigger companies.
I think maybe now would be a good time to ask. There are a couple questions in the Q&A. The first one is it difficult to separate work and personal life, and how do you go about setting those boundaries? And I think maybe in relation to that, there's also, do you feel that threat of losing contact with your family in case of an argument, for example, could be a hindrance in your long-term involvement in the family business?
Okay. How do you separate personal and family business life? For me, it doesn't exist. I don't think there's any separation whatsoever. So that's something that I struggle quite a lot, especially because I'm lucky that I have a very, very close relationship with my mom. So in that sense, we share a lot. But it's true that we speak a lot about the family business, so or the family and the business. So we're constantly going over and over the same topic. So sometimes I'm like exhausted by the end of the day because you've been working without noticing you've been working. So you maybe you're sitting down having dinner and you're working. because you're thinking about what can be done and what you can change, and then you go to bed and you're like, wow, why am I so exhausted if I really just went out for dinner? Because basically you're talking about the business. So in that sense, I don't see any separation at all. And then in terms of arguments, I think in my case, because I grew up with a family business, so when I was born, the family business existed. I think my family has learned to separate arguments. So when they when they have a discussion because of the family business, they know how to keep it away from private life and just be normal in terms of their family life. Just keep it in the work part. But it's true that private and business life are together.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Akanksha, do you have something that you would want to add to that, maybe?
Yeah, I feel Carlota is a lot more self-aware than I am. Now I'm realizing why I've been tired at bed so many times. Now it makes all sense. But yeah, I don't think they're really, you really can do that much to separate it. You can, and I, to be honest, don't really mind that. I don't. It's fun. If you enjoy what you do, if it's your passion, then you will enjoy it. Just that I do think you also learn maybe to cultivate a different interest as a family. So we play a lot of card games. And so like a lot of times we'll just pivot to that, and then nobody talks about anything, related to work. And it's just a lot of like making the other person lose. So that's one thing you could do. And then the second thing is, yeah, of course you have arguments. I mean, but you also fight with your siblings and your parents. And so the problem then becomes is setting a boundary between who's your boss and who's your dad. Like if you're speaking to your dad, you can definitely argue with him. But if you're speaking to your boss, there's a limit to how much you can argue with your boss. But I think we both have learned, and these are just interpersonal relationships that if you value, you put in time into, just as with any other interpersonal relationship. So I don't have very valuable insight on that, but it's just that you have to learn to fight and you have to learn to be respectful when you argue. So, but that goes for any interpersonal relationship. So.
Great, thank you. Those were very valuable insights, I'm sure. Whoever asked questions, we're very happy.
Yeah, so well, so talking about the, arguing with your parents, so how do you have any suggestion on how do you validate your worth among the other employees? How you validate your worth in the eyes of your parents? Do you have any reflection on that, Akanksha?
Yeah, so I think I that's a great question, Anna, really. But like I started my introduction by saying I had imposter syndrome. I still do. And some days I feel, oh my God, I am terrible. I don't do enough at all. Like I need to learn more. And then some days I'm like, I do everything around here. Like, so it does like get a little bit difficult in your own head to figure out your worth. But there are times where because I do a lot of engagement with external agencies like government agencies and like trade associations and things as such. So I get to meet a lot of people, fortunately. And there are times that people have asked me without knowing I was working with my dad, that if I would be interested in being headhunted. And that was like, shot my value of myself up. So I'm like, great. But also, I also take up a lot of responsibility in those organizations and in those agencies. So knowing that they want me there and they want me to lead certain things, certain initiatives, also gives you your worth, right? Like you have to know that, you're doing something right to get to those places. So it's not about blowing your trumpet, but it's about, you're putting your head down, you're working and you're getting some opportunities. So that does validate what you're doing, and so you can reflect and say that perhaps I'm doing whatever parts of my life right. So it's a struggle, but I'm sure every one of us feels it. And so, you have to give yourself that credit. Yeah.
Well, and Carlota, do you have ever experienced this imposter syndrome in your family? Oh, I think, okay.
Sorry, it left.
Yeah. So yeah, I was asking if you have ever experienced the imposter syndrome that like Akanksha did.
Yes, I have. I think what happened? Yes, I'm here.
Okay. It's all right. No worries. Let's see. Maybe it's your connection. Maybe turn off your camera and then on again one more time, Carlota.
Yes, coming.
It's okay. Don't worry. If not,
Do you see me?
no.
No,
We did
I see.
earlier for sure, but
I see you.
it's okay. We can keep going, but don't worry about it. We'll figure it out afterwards. It's no worries.
Do you hear me?
Yes, fine.
Okay. So yes, I have had the imposter syndrome so many times, especially at the beginning when I started. Basically because at the end of the day, it's true that if you start a business like this one, it's because your family has it. So it's true that it happens. But then with time, you can just develop to become the person that you can be. So if you show that you are good, doesn't matter where you come from and whether you're family or you're not family, no one cares if you're showing that you are worth it. So for now, I'm perfectly capable of understanding that if I'm doing this job and I'm there and I'm the boss, it means that I'm worth it, not that I'm family, I guess, at least.
Well, I have just one question that I really curious. Akanksha, do you think that you also, apart from some business contribution, do you think that your value, there is some non-business value in working for family business?
Sorry, you meant non-business value? Is that what you said?
Yeah, like the family value, you add some, emotional value to bring some other things on board.
Yeah, so I think that any parent, I feel like I'm gonna stereotype, but it is a proud moment for the parents to be like, if you're performing okay, to be like, hey, yeah, that's my daughter. Because when I joined, like I was known as, oh, that's Captain Batura's daughter. That's my father's name because he's a captain, right? And so now, like, there are a lot of times that he is referred to as, oh yeah, you're the father of this Akanksha girl. And so that value that you add to your like bosses, it drives them as well. It drives them to know that they have done something right as well. Because our parents' generation didn't have that kind of validation, to be very honest. Like my parents were, at that time, they weren't called expats, they were called like migrants because they moved. And so like my parents started this whole thing, like they got a better life for us. And so for them to like realize that they've built something that's worthy for someone who's done, okay, CEMS masters or whatever it is, and joined them, it's such a big like push for them to know that they've done something right. And so it keeps them going as well. And I don't think I've mentioned my mother at all, but basically she was essentially like taking care of us growing up, and she was also helping a lot, my dad a lot with like even things like client relations. Like it sounds insane, but basically when you're a small family business, the relationships you have with your clients are so like personal. So my mom knew like them and their families, and so like anyone who joins a family business like brings their touch to the family. Like it may be your ability to connect with someone or your ability to remember tiny details. So yeah, you definitely bring non-business values to the company. And Yeah, with my family, a lot of it is, give people respect, and they'll give you back whatever they want to give in return. But, you do good and you let it go, and then it'll come back, hopefully. So you bring that value in, and then you have that kind of a business. So yeah, definitely there's something of that, something of what I grew up with, my principles coming in. Yeah, so I hope I'm a reflection of that. I try.
You mentioned that everybody that works for a family business brings something. And here we have a question about how you treat employees who are not family members and how they are integrated in the decision-making.
I suppose that goes to Akanksha, because Carlota, I don't know if she, oh yes.
She's back.
I think that Akanksha wants to to give the turn to Carlota. So with this,
Yeah, Carlota, you're on mute. This is on you. This is your question.
Do you need me to repeat the question?
I think so, yeah.
The question was, how do you treat employees who are not family members, and how are they integrated into the decision making?
Wow. Good question. So it's hard. It depends on, of course, okay, it depends on your role inside of the business. It's not so much whether you're family or not, it's more the role you have. No, it's true that main decision making is always done by the administrators of the company, which are basically my mom and my uncle. So they are the two that make the big decisions. But then day-to-day decisions, you have the lead people in each department that can make day-to-day decisions. So they are also left to decide. It's a very, I would say, consultative kind of business. So it's a lot of talking, a lot of showing what your issues are, and your decisions come together with everyone. So there's no hierarchy in the business as to who takes decisions and how decisions are taken. It's just more on the go. So if you have a feeling that you can impact the business positively, my family is always open for you to share your opinion. So no hierarchy, I would say.
That's great, thank you.
Akanksha, do you want to answer to that as well?
Yeah, actually, I like Carlota's response. I do think that it's a much more flat hierarchical structure. And I also think that, fair enough, you can say that the decisions are made by family members, but the input always comes from non-family members, because that's unbiased. So a lot of times the people, like I have colleagues who have worked with the company like 10, 15 years. So if they say that, hey, this isn't working, sure, they're not making the decision to change it, but they're giving all the input that is basically, coercing the management to change that decision. So, or to make that call. So it's not that your voice isn't heard. That's what I'm trying to say. So you may not be the decider who signs the final fine print, but that doesn't mean that you don't have a voice. Most of the voice comes from those places. In fact, a lot of times I'm like, okay, you don't know that much, you haven't been involved for that long, so you don't, sure, let's just follow what this other person is saying. So that does happen because you value the people who have been in the business. So that's for sure.
Thank you.
Well, so I think that would be the last question. What do you think about the leadership styles that might affect the that are supposed to be in the family business? So do you think that is different from other types of businesses? So you both said that the family business is more or less like a flat organization in your cases, but what do you think about your personal leadership style? How was it affected by the fact of being in the family business and being a daughter in the family business. So, I don't know, Carlota, if you want to catch on that.
So your leadership styles, I guess your leadership styles come from your previous experiences, and also what you see works best. So it's true that I'm very critical because my family has very different leadership styles depending on the personality. So in terms of my mom's siblings, so my mom is very consultative, very innovative. Yeah, we can do this, we can do that. My other uncle, he's like way more like all decisions have to come through me, and he's way more autocratic, no, like me, I'm the main decision maker, I'm the boss, so everyone has to tell me everything and then I take decisions. So I think it's more about personality, not so much about whether you're in a family business or not. It's about personality. It's true that in a family business, because you're also learning by doing, because you're also a family, and you have like these ethical values, no, like your family, so you try as much as possible to treat everyone like family and so on. You try to be a bit more flat in terms of the structure, but I think it goes very much with the personality of the owner or of the leader in this case. So in my case, I don't have a lot of people. I'm not the boss of a lot of people, but I have like 3 people that are my subordinates, and I don't have the feeling that I'm their boss. It's like we all work together and we're a team. And it's true that the decision making comes through me, but we are all a team and we work all together and we all have opinions, and every opinion counts and matters. But I think that goes with personality, my opinion.
Again, another question that I think fits well here. Somebody asked if you face any discrimination from external stakeholders or even internally as a woman compared to male family members, and if so, how do you deal with it?
Okay, so let me go. Yes, short answer is yes. Everyone does. All women do, sadly. That's why we're trying to break the bias. I work in shipping and logistics, which is heavily male dominated. I also dress incredibly like colorfully. So I do not really fit the mold. When you go to a traditional industry, male dominated, and then you see this pink thing coming through. So I say that because, I take up space, right? I'm taking up space, and I'm actively making the decision to do that. But a lot of women if they have that in them, that they look around and they're like, oh, this is, I should dress more differently or different colors or whatever. That happens quite a bit. Discrimination, well, not discrimination, but perhaps, your abilities are questioned, or she like, yeah, sure, she's not going to last very long, it's just going to last maybe a few months, and then she'll probably go do something else. As I told you, I literally just gave birth, and I literally get questions from usually males, not from women, messaging me saying, hey, so are you still working with your dad, or are you just going to be a full-time mom? And so it's not discrimination, but it's what's expected of women. So every woman faces this, sadly. And so, you also start questioning your decisions, like, oh, am I making the right call by doing this? So yeah, you face these things, and then you face this, you have to work kind of harder to get to a certain point, as compared to like male colleagues, who sometimes male colleagues just need to show up to be taken seriously. You need to do the work and show up, dressed appropriately or whatever it is. I mean, I'm joking about the dressing thing, but I'm just being very honest about, hairstyles, the colors you wear. These things somehow make a difference. The lipstick you wear. So yes, you face discrimination, but I feel I have kind of stuck to what I have always been, and I've worked with that, and I've created a place for myself in this industry with that. So yeah, you face it, but you have to be strong, and you have to take strength from people around you, and you know, find the people who support you, find your tribe, and yeah, you have to push through it. And people's minds change, because then you prove you prove with your work that you're worth it. So people's perceptions change about not just you, but you're doing the work for the rest of the women out there as well. So that's very important. Take that responsibility, very important. Like, I find it very, like, if you have to speak up for yourself, because if not, the future generations or the women around you will suffer the same thing you go through, and that's not fair. So that's my two.
Sure. Thank you. Carlota, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, basically, I'm also in a business that is male oriented and male dominated, because I'm in the wine industry, and the wine industry, especially in terms of agriculture, has always been men everywhere. So it's true that I suffer. I wouldn't call it discrimination per se, because I guess, well, or maybe it's discriminate. I haven't studied sociology, so I'm not sure what the terms are, but it's true that when you're a girl, especially with my face that I look very, very, very young, they have a tendency of treating me like if I didn't exist. So I have had the experience, especially with suppliers, that they don't talk to me. They talk to like the person that is in the field. So we have someone that is in charge of the field itself, and maybe I don't think they're doing it consciously. They're just looking at the person because he's a guy, and they're talking to the guy, and I'm there, and I'm the one that pays, and I'm the one that is taking the decision, but you're not there. So the person that is there is the guy. So I have suffered that quite a lot with suppliers, because it's agriculture, and agriculture has always been very, very, very male oriented. What do I do to change it? Basically, I show the personality. So you have to show your personality. So in that sense, I'm very, very in favor of what Akanksha has just said. Like, for me, you have to stand out and show that you're there. And regardless of whether the conversation goes on for an hour and they're not even looking at you, but you have to continue being like, hey, I'm here, and I'm the one taking the decisions. So it's something that we're going to suffer. I would love to say that it will stop, but I think it's going to be forever in different degrees. So you always have to be plain straightforward as to your position in this world, but not only in the business. I'm talking about life in general. So you have to show that you're there, and fight as much as possible for what you're doing, regardless of your gender, because I don't care if I'm a girl or if I'm a boy. I'm just there, and it's like, sorry, but you're going to listen to me because I'm the one making the decision. So yeah.
I think that's a great answer. Thank you.
Well, saying that, I was just wondering, because based on what you're saying, I have the impression that it's more like the external stakeholders that are more kind of biased toward gender biased, rather than the family. Is that correct? Or also in the family, like, I don't know, well, the fathers, mothers, I don't know, brother, in case of...
This is deep. I would say, I mean, my mom has 7 siblings, and out of these 7, only 2 are girls. So it has always been a very male-oriented family, and a very male-oriented family business, because my granddad was the one that founded it. He was old, and I mean, older generations are almost always a bit sexist because of their structure and because of their culture and how they grew up and so on. So he was a bit sexist. That's true. And my uncle, he can have like small things of, like these things that you're saying, okay, this is a bit about education. No, you need a bit more education as to the role of women. But it's true that the fact that my mom is the other side of the business is like she balances a lot the role of women in the business. So I guess that's also how we kind of balance. But it's true that sometimes they have some comments or some ideas that are a bit like, what do you say? But you have to just educate a bit and try to take that idea away and move towards being a bit more modern.
So your granddad also is also in the business, or already?
No, he died a couple of years ago, so he's not in the business anymore. Now it's just the second generation. Yeah.
Well, and Akanksha, what would you say? Do you have any biases in the family, or it's pretty
Like, sorry, biases like towards the males?
Yeah, towards the gender, because you know what Carlota says is practically that the men are traditionally more welcome to the family business because of, like, you know, the norms of the succession and all these kind of things. But do you have that perception?
No, I think with my family, we're fortunate that like it's more ability oriented as well. So I mean, they want to give the platform to either of their two kids. We're just two of us. So for them, it's like if anybody wants to take on some of this workload with the platform that we've created, sure. And it was just my dad who started this business with the support of my mom. So for them, in fact, they are always encouraging me, like they're saying that you can do so much more with this, you know, what about this idea? So they're actually, no, they're not at all like biased. But you know, as with Asian families, there's always this thing of, you know, I remember growing up, like my mom would always say, you should really learn to cook something. And I never did. I still don't, you know, and my brother usually cooks more. So it just, you know, it's just like, these are small things that you hear around the house, but they don't actually like impact what they feel of you and your abilities to actually work in a company, you know? So that's the surprising thing as well, right? Like we navigate this like weird mix of like family thoughts and then also the family business, where family business you can do whatever you want. And then sometimes I remember being like telling my mom, you want me, like what if I learn to cook and then like I spend like however many hours which I could just spend in the business and develop this, you know? I remember saying that to her and she was like, it makes sense, but you know, it's just sometimes it's a habit, a force of habit, that women should be doing something like homemaking. So it's interesting how like our parents are actually very open-minded, but they still have those notions, and they're changing it. They're actively changing it. So yeah, so I've faced only that front, but I've never really faced like a ability-based bias. So I'm fortunate that way.
Yeah. So we have now to finish our discussion. We have some pledges that we wanted to invite our participants to reflect on what would they what they would like to contribute personally for the for this International Women Day. What kind of contribution, personal accomplishment they would like to make. So there are 4 options, and we want to have a small vote on that. Well, just a small reflection, I would say.
You don't only have to do just a one pledge if you want to be overly ambitious today.
Yeah,
also, maybe extend that to not only today, but
yeah, goals. So just little, little things make a big difference.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see what we got. What kind of pledges do we got out there? Let's see. So our results. Oh, Anna. Okay.
The
What do you
winner
think?
is
Drum roll, go for it.
to identify opportunities for women on my teams to lead. Okay.
Okay, that's a good one. I mean, the follow-up is I pledge to challenge our leaders to ensure men and women are treated equally. Not so bad. Okay. But yeah, plenty of ambition out there from our participants, which is great. Okay, good. Yeah, so I mean, try to keep, the theme of today, in mind for future days ahead in 2022. I think, you ladies are doing a great job. And I think it's also showing, younger generations, but also older generations that change is able to change, happen and move forward. So that's also very, very different. Just by having that role of a daughter in a family business, I think is also a step forward for everybody. So bravo. Do you have any last comments, Anna? Any last questions, or you're good?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you to first of all to Melissa for organizing everything, and Emily, and also to Akanksha and Carlota for being here and for answering the questions, sometimes hard ones, especially sometimes they were a little bit personal. So thank you very much, and to everybody who participated in the auditory. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, ladies. Yeah, it was great. I mean, it's good to hear from you, different perspectives and different voices. I think that's very important. And thanks for your time. And also to Anna for heading up the moderating role and pursuing, the daughters and family business. I think that's a very interesting topic, and I hope to hear more from you in the future in terms of your research. She's in Barcelona, so you can check her out in Barcelona. Yeah.
I just wanted to a parting comment to everyone listening and everyone here. If you ever see anything you don't feel is right, morally, ethically, or speak up. Don't be afraid. Sure, it takes some time to process if it's actually wrong or you're being, you're overthinking something, fair enough. But if you see something that's not going right as a woman, or to your women colleagues, or to your family, speak up. Don't sweep it under the rug, because we should really break the bias for the next generation. It's about time. It's 2022 and we're still talking about breaking the bias, and there's still so many women who are stuck in molds that are made for them. So if you can, just pledge to do that, and that's good enough. Calling out someone, giving them the chance to think about things, rationally speaking with them, that's all great. And I really hope that happens for more women after us, and our peers as well. So yeah, and we actually had 2 practice sessions, 2 test sessions, and we heard a lot more interesting stories. So next time I think you should record those as well, Melissa and Emily, and then you can post that.
Yes, there's a lot of preparation that goes into these, and an hour flies by so quickly. So it's always good to hear from our alumni and the issues that are out there. I mean, and how we can make a difference a bit, even through an hour, but yeah, it's hard to cover everything, isn't it? All right. Well, I want to thank you again. I have a few announcements just before you head out today. So just to keep in mind, we have Global Alumni Week just around the corner at the end of the month. So keep that in mind. Through the 29th and the 1st, you can register through the CEMS Alumni platform and interact with more of our alumni, which is great. And there are a few global events too, but also keep an eye out for the CEMS webinar series to keep those lifelong learning skills coming along. And, variety of topics So check that out through our social media as well. And don't forget to stay in touch with the CEMS Alumni Association. These kind of efforts that we have today are thanks to them as well. And so give some support there when you can. But that's about it. I wish you a great afternoon, a very happy International Women's Day. And I look forward to seeing you all again, either in person or online. So take good care. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye.